The road to success is often long and arduous. Red Bull F1 team is the best example in this regard. Despite being widely praised and attracting an unbelievably diverse fan base, Red Bull F1 has taken the world by storm. The reason is obvious. With the help of some of the most talented drivers in the world, the Austrian team has enjoyed great success. Red Bull F1 is not only about its drivers, although their expertise and skills are unquestionable. In Abu Dhabi last year, Max Verstappen helped Red Bull Racing win the race, but he wasn't alone. This and many other racing achievements of the Austrian brand were made possible by more than 1,000 Red Bull F1 team members. Often, fans are blinded by the fun of the races and overlook the work of those behind the racing teams. The pit crew and the drivers are the only things we see. Race teams have a whole infrastructure behind them that ensures both on-track and off-track success. Red Bull is the same way. After several years of hard work, the Austrian drinks company reached glory in F1. Red Bull F1 reveals today its most significant success drivers. The Red Bull F1 team nurtures world-class drivers and young talents. As we mentioned earlier, a racing team's success is heavily influenced by its drivers. If you need the right person to operate the best ride and tech, what's the point? Figures such as Schumacher, Senna, and Prost come to mind. Such driving heights are not accessible to everyone, regardless of the car or the technology. Red Bull invested time, energy, and money to attract and develop young talent. Early on, it formed a junior team for passionate 14 to 20-year-olds. During this team's formation, the most promising young drivers were gathered and helped to become top racers as they matured. Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, and Daniel Kvyat all came from this program. Since the beginning, Red Bull has had great drivers. Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber made an admirable team over 5 years, winning many races. Webber was a veteran when he joined the team in 2007. Sadly, they didn't have a great relationship and split up quickly. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez will continue Red Bull Racing's winning tradition. The exceptional leadership of the Red Bull F1 team is another factor that drives the team's success. Christian Horner, a former racing driver, has been the team principal of Red Bull F1 since 2005. As a team leader, he guides the entire team through all the highs and lows, ensuring excellent results. With Horner as the team's leader, Red Bull's F1 team runs smoothly and develops effective strategies. Without the right people to come up with the right ideas and strategies, Red Bull would not have had such great results. Despite having the best drivers, automobiles, technology, etc., the first on the line is Horner. The Red Bull F1 team relies on big tech and attracts a wide and diverse audience. In F1 sponsorship, big tech brands have replaced tobacco labels, which has benefited racing teams. Racing teams are now able to speed up internal processes and save money as a result of technology. Red Bull understands that getting results faster can make the difference between winning and losing races, which is why it partnered with Oracle. It gives many benefits in return for sponsoring the Red Bull F1 team so that it can tell its story through the sport. Oracle's machine learning and AI technology helped Red Bull Racing build faster cars. Red Bull also benefited from Oracle's CRM and fan platform, attracting many fans and improving communication. The Oracle sponsorship and technology enabled Red Bull to make a detailed profile of its fan base, tailor its services to better meet the needs of its fans, and improve its racing results. In the past 2 years, Red Bull Racing has gained more opportunities for growth as more people became invested in the team. Red Bull F1 team could focus on the things that matter most, engineering and racing, without spending money on expensive marketing strategies and paid media. Results followed. Why Red Bull's RB18 F1 innovation isn't just about side pods. Public attention was centered on the aggressive side pods of the 2022 car's first look, but there are several other equally important areas of innovation. Many solutions could change the direction of F1 battles in the future, some of which aren't as obvious at first glance as the side pods. It's the RB18 Beanwing that makes it stand out from the field, since Red Bull is the only team to take this route, while the rest have chosen to go with last year's Dragonfly-inspired arrangement. Rather than stacking elements in series, Red Bull's alternative positions 2 elements on top. The lowermost elements are cranked higher to maximize attack angles. These aerodynamic structures interact more effectively with the diffuser, while the upper element acts as an intermediary flow conditioner. As a powerful tool used by teams in connecting and tuning the flow structures created by the diffuser and rear wing, the Beanwing was expelled in 2014, and Red Bull appears to be taking up where it left off. Like McLaren, Red Bull has switched from a pushrod front to a pull rod rear suspension, opting for a pushrod front and a pull rod rear, because Red Bull, and more specifically Adrian Newey, were responsible for the previous rear suspension revolution. This is extremely interesting. As a result of the switch to pull rod rear in 2009, it became recognized as the best solution and was adopted unilaterally worldwide in the years to follow. Due to the rising floor section, it becomes more critical to position the suspension elements away from the rising suspension elements. Therefore, reverting to a pushrod rear is largely driven by aerodynamic considerations. New regulations surrounding the underfloor and diffuser have increased the value of doing this. Weight is higher due to this change, but it also results in easier access to the inboard suspension elements if the setup needs to be altered. The RB18's front suspension switch to pull rods is one of many novelties we'd like to discuss. In addition to moving the adjustment to a more central location on the rod to make it easier for mechanics to access it, there is also an interesting wishbone arrangement. The RB16B has a chassis intersecting monoarm on one of the wishbones. It has, however, been reversed, as has the pull rod inversion. This means that instead of the front lower arm passing through the chassis bulkhead, it is now the front upper arm. A high mounting is also used on the forward upper arm, where it intersects with the chassis. On the outboard side, the rear is slightly offset from the front, and on the chassis end, it is mounted much lower. Airflow's downstream route will clearly be affected by these choices aerodynamically. This multi-link arrangement is more about controlling the car's front end under braking by promoting some anti-dive properties. The rear leg exists similarly to generate an aerodynamic relationship between the steering arm and the lower wishbone, although it is much less aggressive. It has also been noted that the RB18's bulbous under-chassis splitter has a narrow slot on its front face. It is suspected that it provides cooling to components housed internally, as it does for other teams. Red Bull also chose to house its auxiliary oil tank in this position in 2021. This is where you would expect to find electronics, but it is also where we find Red Bull's auxiliary oil tank. When the car was wheeled back into the garage, a small cylindrical cooler was attached to the inlet to help cool the brakes. It also provides support brackets for the brake duct blowers. This is also the year when Audi and Andretti are supposed to join the sport, with the latter still waiting for the green light from the FIA. Nonetheless, the sport is in huge danger, and while Red Bull and his fans will be more than happy to see yet another season like 2022 minus the tension between Verstappen and Perez, it's something that will hurt the sport in the long term. Obviously, the team would want to see the tension between the Verstappen and Perez knocked down, which is very likely to happen. Now that Perez understands his role in the team with Ricciardo waiting in the shadows for a mistake from the Mexican driver, it's evident that Perez wouldn't want his career to end prematurely, which is why he'll bring his A+ game to every racing week. Nevertheless, the season is going to be very interesting, and Red Bull is obviously a great team that focuses more in 2023. So what do you guys think about this video? I hope you liked this video. If you did, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned, as we will come up with many more new and more informative videos. Till then, goodbye.